All right, everyone, we're going to learn how to make the Q-Bit. It's simple and easy, 24 millimeter odd-roc. This is a very simple build. It doesn't have a lot of different parts, but I'm going to show you all the parts you need to have. And in some cases, I'll have some links in the comments below to where to buy them. First up is a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch, 4-inch long dowel. You can find this in most any hardware store. Then we have two 3.5 inch dowels of the same size, 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. Then we have three 4-inch by 4-inch, 1/8 inch birch plywood. And this you can find at Amazon, and I'll have a link to these comments below. Next, we have centering rings, or no, the launch lug, a 3/16 launch lug that you can find at Estes or most any place that sells model rockets. And then two centering rings. Important to have two of them, and it doesn't matter what kind of centering rings, as long as they're 24 millimeter. Next is this piece here. This has a 24 millimeter hole, and I'll have a link to a PDF file on a Google Doc so that you can make your own. You can either get it laser cut or you can hand cut it yourself. It's not terribly hard to make, but it's a little tricky. And then last but not least is a 24 millimeter mount. Needs to be about 2.5, 3 inches long, thereabouts. Can be longer, can be a little bit shorter, that's fine, just as long as it's 24 millimeter. So, and this is the final product. Now, I hydro dipped this thing to paint, and I'll have a video at the end to show you how I did that, and I've already got it on my account. And notice that with this design, you leave gaps here. And the sides here. And the reason you leave gaps is so that you can use motors that have ejection charges on them, or if you forget to use them. Now for the glue in this build, I use Titebond 2 throughout, but really most any wood glue will work just fine. It's not that big of a rocket, it's not going that fast. So just as long as you get some solid glue joints in there, you are good to go. And as far as another thing, I use these little clamps. These things are awesome. I got a big jar of them from a hardware store that was closing out a few years ago. And those things are real handy to have. All right, I'm going to be making 5 of these suckers. And the reason I'm making 5 is so you can see in time lapse how everything goes together. And I'm going to be giving them away at a launch. So if you're a kid or you're bringing a kid, come find me and we'll show you how I'll probably give you one if I have. So here I'm gluing on the 4-inch and a 3.5 inch dowels to one of the 4x4 panels here. And as you can see, like everybody else in the world, I'm struggling a little bit with the nozzle on the Titebond. But here goes a 4-inch right there, and just line up the end with the corner. Do the same thing with the 3.5 inch. Doesn't matter if you glue the panel or the dowel. There you go. Just like that. Put that sucker on there. And this is where the little plastic clamps come in handy. I can hold them right in place. You can adjust the location and get that corner to match up real nice. Just like that. And here I'm only, because these parts are so small, I'm only using one clamp on each side. next step, we're going to glue one of the other panels onto one of the dowels there, and also put one of the 3.5-inch dowels on this panel we're just gluing, as you can see here. And again, we're using clamps, and it's nice having a square dowel so we don't have to worry about squaring everything up. It's already square for you if you line it up properly and clamp everything on. And obviously, I'm letting the glue dry from when we installed the first 2 dowels before I do this step. Makes things a little easier. Step, you're going to glue the motor mount inside the hole there of the triangular piece. And as you can see, I have to sand these out a little bit, but that's okay. Just sand them out with the Dremel. It's not hard to do. Put the centering ring, put one centering ring on one side, one on the other side, and you glue everything together. And if those centering rings are pushing together against the plywood there, it's going to hold the motor mount pretty much square to the plywood. So, and yeah, this is what you want. So off we go. So in this step's a little tricky. You just got to glue the motor mount inside of the body there. It's a little tricky because you got to line everything up just right so that all 3 sides of the motor mount are touching the sides of the body. Now for this step, you're going to take a drill bit, it's 3/16, and drill through the bottom of the motor mount right next to the centering rings, and make sure you get all the way through the body. And a drill press would probably be a little bit better for this, so they can go straight up and down. But if you're really careful, you can keep it aligned with your motor mount. So in this last step here, I'm just taking a launch rod, just making sure everything fits just right. And usually what happens is you got to make sure the hole in the top is big enough. And so as you can see here, I've been drilling them out a little bit just to make sure that the launch rod goes all the way through. Very lastly here, I'm going to show you how I hydro dipped the one rocket. It's pretty simple. Get a little tub of water that's big enough you can submerge your piece all the way in. Spray a bunch of colors in there. In this case, I'm using red, white, and blue. And just a little bit at a time so you get all those little crazy little concentric lines, I guess, if you will. And just very carefully and very slowly, you dip your rocket into the water or whatever it is you want to hydro dip. Now keep in mind, this isn't the fancy hydro dip. This is hillbilly hydro dip right here, real easy to do, and you come out with some nice, cool, random patterns on your rocket. Well, that's it for the video. And I hope you enjoy and found this useful. Thanks. Bye.